Today, I'll be breaking down how I lit these photos. I really love how these photos turned out. It was one of those moments where the concept I had in mind really matched almost exactly how they turned out, which definitely isn't always the case. I would say this setup ranges from beginner to intermediate level. It's definitely not super tough, but it does involve 4 different light sources. The first thing I did was pull down this orange seamless backdrop. I feel like I normally opt for a white backdrop or even a gray backdrop to be able to mold the light a little bit better. If you pull down a specific color like orange here, you're making a concrete choice that the backdrop's going to be along that color spectrum. Also, yes, I know the backdrop doesn't actually look orange right now. I swear to you it is. You'll find out why that is though in just a second. But for this shoot, the client really wanted really contrasting colors, especially teals and oranges. The first light I used was Zhiyun's Molis G200. I really love this light because it's not only lightweight and powerful, but the one that I have has a Bowens mount, which means I can attach it to different accessories. In this case, I attached it to my Westcott optical spot. If you're unfamiliar, an optical spot is a modifier that can be used to create a ton of different lighting effects. So different shapes, patterns, you can also attach on gels to create different hues. It's been a really fun way to get really creative with my lighting recently. So with the optical spot, I kept the blades wide open, and with that, it creates a spotlight effect. I just had to be sure to position the light off to the side and just maneuver it in a way that it would project behind her and not spill onto her face, because I really wanted to have this be cast in the background and not her. Also, onto the optical spot, I attached a yellow gel, and because that backdrop color is orange, what the yellow is doing here is really playing off the orange. Because they're so close on the color spectrum, it started to create a really nice gradient, and because I really liked how that was turning out, I also wanted to emphasize that even more. So I took a really small RGB panel light and placed that on the ground behind the model, and I set it to a sort of red-pink hue. It started to look almost like a really nice sunset, and I was absolutely loving that. So with that decision, I felt like I was pretty set with the backdrop and the warmer tones, so I moved on to the cooler tones. So all I did for this was grab 2 RGB panel lights, and not the little portable one that I placed behind the model, but instead a little bit larger ones. They sit on tripods. The ones I have are from GVM. So what I did was set one on each side of the model and set the color to this really deep blue, which I thought looked really nice with that really warm contrasting background. And if you wanted to separate the cool tones from the warm tones even further, you could go ahead and place V-flats in between those 2 setups. For me, I felt like the cooler lights were far enough away from the warm lights that nothing really was spilling on one another. My big panel lights that are casting the blue tone onto the model also have barn doors, which also is a great way to sort of direct the light where you want it. I really like to think about lighting in a way where it's like, how can we light the background to be super cool and unique? And then thinking about how we can light the foreground as a completely different setup in a way where they can either live together in the same color space, or in this case be super contrasting. I feel like lighting becomes a whole lot easier that way if you think about the foreground and the background as separate sort of things to light. With photo shoots, you plan things out like the location, the model, the styling. Think about the lighting as well and plan that beforehand. There's so many things to think about when you're on location and shooting, and then if you go into your photo shoot with a set lighting plan to match the different styling and the mood, it just makes everything so much easier. I've been finding a bunch of lighting inspiration on Pinterest, even printing out certain images that really inspire me and then breaking down the lighting from there. So yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed this lighting breakdown. And if you decide to recreate this for yourself, definitely tag me wherever you post it on Instagram or TikTok. I'd love to see what you make. And also be sure to download my new photo editing app. It's called Tint on the App Store. Really appreciate it. And with all that, I'll see you guys soon.